Songs have been sung and stories have been told about him. Almost every student who passed through the Nigerian secondary school can attest to the legendary status of King Jaja of Opobo. His sagacity, defiance, and resilience against British authority and colonialism are well known. But not so many people know the real story of Jibo Jiboha, the man who rose to become the fierce and powerful King Jaja of Opobo. Jaja of Opobo was a merchant prince. Besides, he was a political and military strategist who defied the odds to attain wealth and power. He dominated the region's lucrative palm oil trade. He founded the Opobo city-state in present-day Rivers State of Nigeria in the latter half of the 19th century. What is more, it became the most prosperous city-state in the Delta area of Nigeria. King Jaja was born in 1821 in Amaigbo village in the heartland of Igbo land, southeastern Nigeria. He was the third son of his parents. The Igbo land in the 1800s was in chaos as Europeans invaded the land for slaves in exchange for firearms, tobacco, and bullets. Jaja was sold into slavery at the age of 12 to High Chief Allison of Bonny in modern-day Rivers State. His first master gave him the name Jibo Jiboha. He was later resold to Chief Alali, the head of the Okpobi Manila group of houses. At that time, Bonny Kingdom was the most powerful city-state on the Atlantic coast of southeastern Nigeria before the rise of Opobo. It was here that the British, who couldn't pronounce his name, gave him the name Jaja. In the 19th century, the Niger River Delta was a trade hub with Europe and America. Niger Delta communities shipped Western goods to the region's interior and returned with palm oil for export. Given the swamps, rivers, and creeks of the region, canoe was the engine of commerce. Canoes and their operators were organized into canoe houses, which were controlled by wealthy merchants. Although a slave could never become a king, a charismatic, hardworking, and ambitious slave could become the leader of a canoe house. Young Jaja started with the lowest status in the Ana house, a slave who was considered inferior to the freeborn. He worked as a paddler on the trade canoes of his owner, traveling to and from the inland markets. On top of that, he demonstrated exceptional entrepreneurial skills at a very young age. He was soon recognized as one of the smartest businessmen in the city-state, and he won the hearts of the local people and the Europeans. As a young slave boy, he made the uncommon transition from paddler to trader, and he prospered. He toiled day and night to secure his freedom from bondage and financial independence. Interestingly enough, he earned his way out of servanthood after serving his master for some years. In 1863, the leader of the Anapepo house died, leaving behind staggering debts. The established chiefs at the time refused to take over the house because of the debt. Ana House owed the British loads of money. Jaja accepted the debt and reorganized the house, using his talents to forge tight relationships with palm oil buyers and sellers. He took charge of the trades and went on to lead the Anapepo House merchant faction of Bonny Island. Jaja fearlessly took up this responsibility, and in 2 years he paid off the debt. Under his leadership, the house soon absorbed 14 out of the 18 of Bonny's other trade houses. This gave the house dominance of the palm oil trade and earned them some enemies. The Manila Pepo house, led by Oko Jumbo, became envious of their strength. They looked for every opportunity to start a fight to no avail because Jaja took extra measures to maintain peace. Nonetheless, the disputes and power struggle that ensued compelled Jaja to break away to form the Opobo city-state in 1869. In the new settlement, he became King Jaja of Opobo. Opobo soon dominated the region's lucrative palm oil trade. Part of this success is attributed to the fact that Jaja made moves to block the access of British merchants to the interior, giving him an effective monopoly. Many a time, Jaja even shipped palm oil directly to Liverpool, independent of British middlemen. Apart from the fact that he was a wealthy merchant, he was also a man of honor and power. He assisted the Queen of England in the Ashanti War in the Gold Coast and was awarded a Sword of Honor by Queen Victoria in 1871. As time went on, the oil trade business in Opobo land began to expand, and the ambitions of the Europeans to dominate the market grew. This created a conflict between Jaja and the British business tycoons. One of them was John Holt of Liverpool. Liverpool members of the African Association were also lobbying for strong action against Jaja over what they described as falling rates of profit. King Jaja dealt severe blows on the Kwa Igbo people in 1881. He raided around 7 of their villages, captured many of them, and executed approximately 100 people for engaging in direct trade with the Europeans. At the 1884 Berlin Conference, notwithstanding, the other European powers designated Opobo as a British territory, and the British soon moved to claim it. When Jaja refused to cease taxing British traders, Henry Johnston, a British vice consul, invited Jaja to negotiations in 1887. He brought a warship named HMS Goshawk to Opobo and invited Jaja on board. He assured Jaja that nothing would happen to him, but when he got on board, he gave him 2 bad choices. One was that if he would not allow the Europeans access, he could go back and face immediate bombardment from the British Navy, and the other was the option of exile. Jaja unswervingly stuck to his position. The British arrested and tried him in Accra, then took him to London for some time. This was where he met Queen Victoria, and he was her guest at Buckingham Palace. Eventually, he was deported to the West Indies. While in exile on the Caribbean, his presence was alleged to be the cause of immense civil unrest amongst the people of Barbados. After years of campaigning for his freedom, he was moved to the island of Cape Verde off the coast of West Africa to prevent the possibility of a revolt. Incidentally, he made repeated appeals to Britain to allow him to return to Opobo. In 1891, his request was granted. He won his freedom after numerous years of fighting against his wrongful abduction. The British Parliament approved his repatriation to his kingdom state of Opobo. King Jaja died in the early hours of the 8th of July, 1891. It was alleged that he was poisoned with a cup of tea. He was buried in the Canary Islands. Following his exile and death, the power of the Opobo city-state rapidly declined, and the land was plagued with slave raids, riots, and the British exploited its natural resources. After many years of clamor and protest by his people, his body was properly exhumed and sent back to his beloved Opobo kingdom, where he was laid to rest. In 1903, the King Jaja of Opobo Memorial was erected in his honor. Today, a magnificent statue of him stands in the town center with the inscription, "A king in title and in deed, always just and generous." Even today, the people of Opobo still celebrate him by organizing different cultural events in his honor. King Jaja rose from the darkest pit of slavery and servitude to become a John Rockefeller, Warren Buffett, and Aliko Dangote of his time. He will always be remembered as one of the heroes of colonialism, a smart and a strategic entrepreneur, and the head cornerstone of his kingdom. What is more, one of the master strategists of the 19th century.